Yes, This song is called Be the Change, inspired by the words of Mahatma Gandhi, who lived for peace and not violence, and told us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Freedom's calling, I feel the fire that's deep inside us. Everybody wants change, but tell me who will guide us to the leaders that pass away. Put up your lighters. It's a beautiful struggle, but it cannot divide us. We're the ones that we've always been waiting for. See yourself in the mirror and open up the door. Walk through it and feel the love throughout your pores. Be the light, life's purpose is to feel joy. Metaphysical, lyrical, standing up for truth. The only one to make change is walking in your shoes. Be the example, don't complain about the news. Making music and serving the world with the loo. Now you can be the same, or you can be
99 monkeys aware of the fall. 99 monkeys aware. Take him down and pass him around. 100 monkeys aware of the fall. 100 monkeys aware of the fall. 100 monkeys aware. You take him down and pass him around. 101 monkeys aware on the wall. Oh, jeez. Welcome to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon.
Did they teach you that in preschool, Tom?
Dude, oh, jeez, Ramon. I'll tell you, I thought of that earlier today. I was sitting here poking around on the computer, and that popped into my head for some reason. And I went, oh, my God, that's perfect. So, you know, that's what it's like, you know, as more and more people. Hi, dogs. There's my chihuahua.
I think the dogs agree with you.
And dogs. And more and more people do the proverbial wake up thing. They get down and they start passing their energy around, and the next thing you know, we've got more monkeys that are waking up to what's really going on here. And man, it's a amazing time to be here. And oh man, so much going on, Ramon. We've got.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We've got you know, some pretty amazing shit going on in this world right now. With all the consciousness stuff that's happening, the people that are really starting to smell the coffee, and then we've got the stuff flying around in the skies. It's been just, I mean, holy Toledo. There's been just sightings after sightings after sighting after sighting, and there's some actually some really good footage coming out here. Just this last month, there's been quite a bit, and I guess I didn't get a chance to look at it yet, but I guess there was another sighting at the closing ceremonies of the Olympics, along with the ones that were at the beginning. So
I wonder if they're fans.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they saw a big stage there, you know. So
yeah, I last weekend. Today is. What's today's date, Tom? 15th, 16th?
14th.
14th. Oh, 14th for you, 15th for you.
15th for you.
Yeah, I last weekend I went dolphin diving, and let me tell you, those beings, wow. It's just whenever if anybody ever got a chance to go swimming with them, at least for me personally, this is my second time, and I feel like they always change something. Just their being around their energy really changes something. Some people had more direct. One of the girls we went with, the dolphin swam right up and looked at her in the eyes. Unfortunately, I didn't get a picture of that, which would have been amazing. But that's one of those spontaneous things. The one funny part was I was swimming with the dolphins, and I'm just like following behind them. And I realized whenever you go swimming with the dolphins, if you're swimming like frantically, trying to keep up with them, you know, they don't like that energy. They take off. But if you relax, especially if you start playing around and doing turns and stuff like that, they kind of look at them and they're like, oh, he's playing. And they really enjoy that. So if you go swimming with them. But anyway, as I'm swimming with them, this girl from another boat swims by them, and she swims under them, and she's taking pictures, but she's swimming really relaxed, and you can tell she's a professional because she's able to keep up with them, and they weren't swimming that fast. Um, and all of a sudden, I from the corner of my eyes, I see what I think is more dolphins. When I look, it's actually all these people taking pictures. It looked like something out of like paparazzi, like Hollywood.
Huh.
And the dolphins just freaked out and they were like, "Oh, I don't like this," and they just took off.
Hmm.
Oh, I didn't get a picture of that, but
Oh, I haven't yet done that, but one of these days I will swim with them. If I don't do it in the physical, I've probably done it already on some other levels, but
it would be nice to interview one of them, but their language is so complicated.
yeah, I
I
bet.
I I think maybe our guest coming up, he might broken that code, so we'll ask him about that.
Yeah, so guys, if you check out the main page on the website, we're still supporting and being an outlet for you to get tickets for the Pythagoras conference that's happening in Indiana on October 10th through the 14th. And if you guys use the link through the website to buy your tickets, you actually help Ramon and I out with keeping the show afloat. As we get a certain percentage of the sales through there, so that would
Yeah.
definitely help us out. And
And also we got the monkeys still available.
yeah,
They're the 8 gig monkeys, and we'll put on there the first season that starts November 17, 2010, all the way to what's that? December 31st was our last show,
yeah, yeah,
2011, and we put on there all our video interviews that Tom's done. Very great job with them.
yeah. And you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, my YouTube channel, and Vimeo channel, and most all those links are pretty easy to find on the site.
Yeah, that sounds pretty much like it, right, Tom?
Yeah.
Oh, last thing, I want to thank all 112 countries that are listening to us. And Tom always tells me I shouldn't be shocked, but I'm shocked anyway. It really goes to show that this is really happening because it's countries I don't expect, and I'm not discriminating or anything like that. It's just it surprises me. So that's
The ones that surprise you, Ramon, surprise you because of the programming that we've gone throughout our lives,
exactly.
And that's, once you're aware of that, then it becomes much less of a surprise to see that there are people who are actually conscious all over the world. So,
Yeah.
good thing. So tonight we have James Evan Bomar III. He was born on October 22nd, 1978 in Detroit, Michigan, and is the author of Code to the Matrix and the developer of the Resistant and Wholeness Foundation. He's deeply involved in universal transformation and currently resides in Costa Rica. James possesses an atypical background that has led him to developing the resistance, exemplifying strength and infinite possibility of a person's creative spirit by not just giving opinions, but by setting example. The example being who one was yesterday and is today is nothing similar to what one can become tomorrow. He has been a computer engineer, gang member, pastor, CEO, prisoner, enlightener, telemarketer, clothing designer, convenience store clerk, promoter, inventor, cipherist, and many other rare and sometimes controversial positions to arise as a quickener that can relate to people from all walks of life. James is currently working in Costa Rica developing a community and virtual institute with the primary focus of neo-universalism, finding the common integers of all species in order to learn how to build bridges to a balanced mind, body, and soul. James, also known as Sevan, and we will be using that to speak with him tonight because I think it fits him much more appropriately. Welcome to the 100th Monkey Radio.
Hopefully today we will see if the 100th monkey has arrived. It is great being here. And it's just fantastic. Like the energy is really smooth today, and I'm just hoping to really get the message out to people from multiple diameters. I know we're going to cover a lot in this show, but like I said, I'm super excited. I'm super charged.
So
Cool.
so Sevan, let's start off with I mean, we've seen you've worn a lot of different hats in this world. What actually turned your head towards consciousness? I mean, from just looking at what you've done through your life, I'd have to guess that you lived in the third dimension for a significant amount of that time, and there was, I suspect there was some event that turned you towards understanding what the hell was going on here.
What Tom likes to call the proverbial 2x4.
You know, I'm a big fan of the EverQuest. Like I know a lot of us have been going through different levels of expansion ever since we were children, even more so then. Like I can remember my dreams when I was a child are just, you know, phenomenal with some of the stuff that I was seeing in there. And I started noticing that window closing around a certain time. So I can definitely say that, you know, we all have this connection, especially as a child in the dream world. And I had the same thing going on, but I also had a very extreme situation with wanting to know what happens when you die. And that was something that started affecting me from the moment I saw the first thing die, and the adult explained to me that, you know, it was gone. And I asked, where did it go? And they said, no one knows. And then from that point, even in life, you know, I've been successful in many areas. So when I would feel like, okay, I've achieved something, there would be this uneasiness. And I would be like, why am I not being able to accept the award right now? And then I'd be like, oh, yeah, still don't know what happens when we die. So I've really lived on a different side of the world than most people and how they approach the spirituality, because generally people approach spirituality when they need something. And I can definitely say I've done my fair share of needing something and attempting to entreat the universe for it. And there's another level, however, is that when you become successful and you still see the void there. Like as a child, of course, I grew up in a very challenged home and I went through different things. But as an adult, I became very successful in the business world. But this gave me two aspects of things. And so I was still focused on the main point, which is, hey, let's figure out. It began with what happens after you die, but then it started expanding into other life. And the possibility of other life, even through what I would see in the dream world. And somehow, and I'll tell you about the 2x4 now. At one point, I personally was at a point where I needed to talk to God. But I was not trying to play around. Like I was in a situation in life and I said, look, you know, I know the only thing that can help me with this situation, 'cause it's not going to be lawyers, it's not going to be money, it's going to be this higher power. But I'm not going to give up on myself. So I'm going to address it directly. And this is how it went. And this is really, really backwards. But listen, God, I don't believe in you. But I do know that if you did exist, you will require a person to dedicate 100% of their time to you. So since I have nothing else to do, I'm going to give you 150%. And I'm not coming out that room until you show me that you exist. I'll tell you, within 2 days, I vividly seen something come in the room and then go out the room. That was enough. See, what humanity has to understand is that our contact with the spiritual world on 3D is very limited, for the simple fact that humans, if you look at the word human, it's very close to the word hymen, which means basically a place that cannot be breached. So when the spiritual world is breached, the spiritual world of the individual is breached by another entity in 3D, nothing's ever going to be the same for that human again. So the ripple effect behind that is heavily considered when entities choose or do not choose to materialize into physical reality. Now, this concept is very simple about the other dimensions. If we have a plastic bottle, like a 2-liter bottle, and you blow in it, you'll notice you can't blow much in it because it's already got air in it. So if you put the cap on it, you know there's air in that bottle, but you can't see it. This is just the basics as they teach the child. But that doesn't mean it's not there. So this is how the other dimensions work. They're there, but you can't see them unless you have the eye or the chakra open that corresponds to that dimension. And that's why you still have a whole league of individuals that have their lower chakras open. That's why they're always predicting negativity. And they can see things from a lower level. So this is like the snake's view versus the bird's eye view. So there are people who have abilities, but those abilities come from their chakra centers in the elemental stages in the bottom of their body. But it's still an unbalanced view at times. And this is where humanity's at this brink, is because we're about to learn completely how to work all of our vehicles in simultaneously to understand our real hyperdimensional potential. Like, of course, we have a physical body and then we have a dream body. So because if you're here, but your dream, you have a dream you're somewhere else, where are you? That's still a vehicle. To project that, you had to use basically even light, a vehicle. So this is what we're talking about when we go deep into the dynamics. We got the answers behind what is really going on because we ask the right questions. And I will say with the keywords, one keyword leads to another with Google. Your grandmama didn't have Google. So what happens is that information is going to bottleneck within mail, which was the only form of communication, really. So now humanity is just receiving a system where if you know what you're looking for, you'll find it. You just need to know what to call it. And this is where we have to also understand that, especially with English. English adds at least 150,000 words a year. We don't know all of the words of this language. So there are other things that are just now being introduced. So what I'm saying, there's now new things that are available for us to get us out of the old Atlantean religion. And even those who are adept know exactly what I'm talking about. But the old religion of Atlantis that is still being practiced by the elites, which you've seen in the opening ceremony and the closing ceremony, to see their stagnancy and how they're stuck in the circle. They definitely need someone to come break the Lord of the Ring. So, that's also where these other missions come in. This is very active. Earth is very interesting. It's got a lot going on. And just to understand it more powers you anyway. You see what I mean? It's like this knowledge, this information is more of essence because it's the truth. Truth kind of transcends into another frequency. And so that's what's up. We're pumping that frequency out. This gives individuals the opportunity to become symbiotes rather than vampires because, of course, on the dimension, we're dealing with the extreme situation. I call it the genophage. But it's basically where individuals have been Cain-balled, or Cain and Abel, or cannibals, where they literally consume each other. How this works is really on a simple level. It's not all about just, what went on with the bath salts. It's really from the level of when you see someone as different than yourself, this creates a whole different diameter called separation. So, I guess, I'm going to let you guys answer the questions, but...
Go on, keep going.
Well, this separation, just let me know because, this separation, I can identify this force for you. This will be really one of the first times because, now a lot of knowledge is just being released till now. This force is called Cain. And if you notice a Cain... If you look in history and you look up who Cain is, and of course the British and all these people, they're under Nimrod, they're under Moloch, they're under the priest of Cain. So when you look at Cain, you find out he always has a sword in his hand. The sword is used for cutting. Now, also people have to understand, when I say Cain, some people think immediately this externalized individual that it may be a Jew or something like that harassing them. But they have to realize what Cain is this other part of you that when you are in the room and you say, man, I wonder if I should go to... Who are you talking to? It's like you have to identify there's different vehicles. If you talk to yourself, this means there's two states in your being. To make this simple, especially for people who have grown up in the Abrahamic tradition, it's called the Cain and Abel. It's one personality attempting to rule over another personality. Because in this world, of course, the obtain, which is the Cain has a lot to do with obtaining things, generally rules over people the most. It raises up its energy of its lower world, and it slays its brother, who's, gentle, compassion, etc. And this is the world of Cain, basically. And so when we understand that, we have the ability to actually transform it. Because how this really, really works is that the moment that you realize where you are, I call this like triangulation. Where you are on what dimension, what Malkuth, what Klippolt, where are you at? Once you figure that out, it's easy to thrust from there. The whole idea of being lost is not accepting where exactly you are. And of course, now we have an ongoing battle between those who are already graduated with the knowledge. This means most of their information is coming from their crown chakra, so they tell people, don't worry about it. You know, you've already obtained it. The more you let go, the more you'll be able to absorb it. That is some people's story. But there's a whole nother group of people, especially those from the Western world who have a lot of karma to work off. They have an adventure ahead of them in neutralizing all of that stuff that they pledged allegiance to the flag. Now, it's also interesting because I'm loving it now that the Pythagorean situation is coming back to life, because I talked about the Pythagorean situation in the Code to the Matrix. And just understanding Pythagoras is to understand the pentagram. If you don't understand the pentagram and the mathematics behind the pentagram and the uses of the pentagram, then if you're on a dimension where individuals are using that symbol, you're at an extreme disadvantage. Now, notice how in school, when they tell you about where the five-pointed star came from, they said this lady saw the first design for the flag and they had four-pointed stars on them, whatever that would look like. And then she decided that a five-pointed star would look a lot better, and so she drew that. And that's how the five-pointed star got on the American flag. So now you know, if they're willing to sell you some crocker BS like that, there's got to be something extremely important in there for them to blatantly lie about the uses of the pentagram. So if you notice everywhere, especially with the controllers, the elite, or I call them the so-called controllers, they always flash the Baphomet. We see them at the Bohemian Grove, or the Baphomet is, of course, the cornutal sign. We see them at the Bohemian Grove. We see them doing all these different things, and then you always see the pentagram. You see China's got the pentagram, America's got the pentagram, and then while everyone's seeing this, they're thinking, oh, it's just a star. But what does that star mean? Because it's actually a symbol. So I had to trace it back. This is how I was trained. When I started quickening, which means that you get this information from like a data stream. As long as you're willing to stay aware and stay awake, you can just keep accessing it. It's like the astral records. And I started to discover that, again, when you ask the right questions, when this data stream is open, it's, again, something in yourself when your energy is flowing. It's moving off the passion of you wanting to know the truth. You can get these answers. And so that's what I also want to make available for everyone on the call. I guess maybe just us, but of course there's a lot of people listening and can send even their question through their mind. And it could be asked and handled during this conversation. But this is a conversation where you can actually get the answers to everything that you need to know. And I know that's a big claim, but that is also what neo-universalism is about. I'm not making a claim that is not redundant throughout the universe. Now, they use the term as above, so below. And this, of course, has now been tainted by Crowleyism, even though he wasn't the first person to say that. So we'll change the terminology and say there's a micro and macro nature to all of the worlds. And they know men, even by numbers, have restrained or restrained some of the highest forces, not binded by anything else. Because the assignment of this universe and how it was put together is organized. This is an organism. It plays in an orchestra. The most valuable thing here is ore, which is the gold, which is the alchemical symbol of the soul. Known Dune, they call it the spice. So to the growth of the soul, as many of my comrades agree, the growth of the soul is your primary objective here on the dimension. That's why with the ancestors, the ones that were still walking the straight path, they didn't really touch too many things on the dimension. Like they didn't build anchors for themselves, like buildings and, building up a lot of material and weight. And then when you're gone, you leave it behind, but it still has your essence all over it. So you'll meet it again. People think that this reality is inorganic, even from the sense that because computers are here. But what about an atom is inorganic? Plastic is made out of atoms too. None of this stuff is dead. It's about whether you can weld it or not.
Hmm.
So this is where this next movement of individuals that are very skilled at working with their own energy are coming through with something very similar to a vibration rod, where they play as human orgone, walking through the dimension, sending this vibration that immediately allows the reflections of the mirrors of the other souls or the shades to see that reflection and then perfect themselves with it. All they need to see it is one time. This is, of course, hidden in the the much baffled up Christ myth, where they say that when you looked upon the Christ, you saw whatever you wanted to see and what you needed to see. So this is what when we now have to, when we look at ourselves, like I say, I wear a clear face. It's like I let the energy completely flow free so that I can really know all things, not bar myself from knowing something because I feel like that's something that's not necessary, blah, blah, blah. Cain and Abel are at it again. Let's see who wins this time. And so that's what's up, guys. Like, I'm here to talk about freeing that energy up, because also this happens again on multiple levels. If you look at the brain, in the center of the brain, there's the corpus callosum. If you look at the movie The Last Airbender, in the last scene, he has this arrow in the center of his forehead. It starts to light up, right? What this is about, even if you look at the Heliophan I, My Pet Goat movie, they show in the beginning a symbol where the Draco is there and then the lightning goes through the middle of the brain. What this is about is that in the center of our brain is an area that has millions of neurons. And in most humans, the whole center in the circuitry basically is burned out. This is because of duality. Every time they have a thought about something, they think of a conflicting thought to that, and it short circuits. Once you completely short circuit this area, it takes repair to actually get that whole corpus callosum region back online again. And so these are things that when someone with the rod, basically the caudacious rod, would come through, they could easily see where you weren't whole. And let me explain to you why. Of course, human beings are on zodiacs, okay? And what the zodiacs do is, as when the human's born, first a star appears in the sky. And this star, which is them, is collecting all of the photon matter from all the other adjacent stars. And the one that holds sway over them the most is the largest star before they incarnate into physicality. So this creates their pros and their cons, or their benefits and their non-benefits, their strengths and their weaknesses. Because someone on the exact opposite side of the constellation is also born to balance you out. See, what's happening with our world now is you see all the destructive people, the individuals that normally would balance them out, basically cancel out all the stuff that they're doing, are shedding up right now. They've been made to shed up. They've been swindled, conned, and confused, and now they think they're just supposed to sit back and not say nothing. But meanwhile, their double is on the other side of the world causing havoc. So what I mean by this is that humanity's transition now will come from when we teach our shadow a real reflection. And this requires us to be it. This is where you have basically this child that has been following you around all your life and learning from not what you say, but what you do. And then you have to now work the arcanum, because let me tell you why. When energy first comes out, it comes out as dark matter, black, Ma'at, matrix style stuff. It's globulous. It has no straight lines. The Creator had the ability to begin to shape it. And to shape darkness, you have to shape it with light. Now, let me explain this in a more simpler level. When you pull a diamond out of a mine, it looks nothing like the diamond that they put on the woman's finger when she gets married. They have to cut it trillions of times. They call it trillion cut. So what happens to us in this dimension is we're constantly being cut. We're cutting ourselves, scarring ourselves at times, shaping and fashioning ourselves so that one day we can spin perfect, perpetual. Now, the integrity of the creators was to create the being perpetual. That was something that they just did, meaning that they created beings. These shells were created to run without stopping, a clock that never stops running. We're the ones that put the kink in the clock. So now we have to understand how that is taking place daily, because, of course, the control point which we're at when we're awake, we have the ability to cut off every single cord that has been feeding from our energy. They call this a shell. These are when you walk through areas of life and something attaches itself to your aura. The way to break these is to simply enter into another higher vibratory frequency long enough, and they break off like shells. Now imagine if people just know that, and of course salt. Now, if people just know that this is possible, that just like a boat, you're basically an arc riding around the dimension, a ship in itself, in the middle of space, gliding on top of another ship, fish in a sea, basically riding alongside other bigger fish, and you expect not to get barnacles? First of all, bar is the real name for Saturn, by the way, as in the bar mitzvah. But you expect not to get some type of impedance. So it reminds me of the movie The Aviator, when Howard Hughes went so crazy with shaving the screws down on the plane just to make the plane faster. This is almost how you have to be these days if you want to enter into the grand beyond. You keep trimming yourself down as far as how accurate your knowledge is and how quick you can come to the truth. So we start with the zero because that's all there ever was and all there ever will be is here now. Our realization of the zero basically opens the portal for us. That's why it looks like an egg. And so now, like I said, let's see where we're going to go with this, fellas. What do you think? I mean, where should we go?
Well, man, you gave me like 100 more questions. So let's bring it down back to the third dimension, because I think this is very important for someone, especially for much younger people who might get exposed to these kind of shows because of their parent or older brother, or so on and so forth. Because all three of us have the experience of being locked up. From your point of view, what can you tell to someone who maybe they're just listening to this? Because I feel like the right person who needs to listen to this part is going to listen to it. What can you tell that person that is on that edge where everybody else can see, if you keep going down this direction, you're going to get locked up? And the other question is, why is it that it seems that humans have to be slapped a few times before they're like, oh, wait, I'm awake now. Okay, I got it. Don't hit me no more.
I can really answer both of those questions within this one statement, because yes, we've, I guess all now on the line have been in the crucible before. And what this is about is that when your space is limited, this puts you in a situation where you do have to discover self, or you really become assimilated. So this is, of course, when you do look into prison, you see the both varieties. I have a fantastic idea that I've been working on, which is, that to get literature into prison, of course, if you just have the right type of paperwork like a church does, is very simple. And just imagine the brothers in there doing breathing exercises because they know they can get this kind of information about all this stuff just for free. Someone's going to send it to them anyway. It's just a printout. Then actually, this is the reason why this whole idea was born, because I was told that is the way that this world will transform. When you take them from the lowest, if you can walk through the gates of hell, because what's going on when a person is imprisoned in this dimension now, what is the sheriff wearing when he's walking around the prison? What is on the left side of his chest? A badge. And there's a star there, right? Most of the time it's seven-pointed star. That's an Elven star. That means I master over 6, 5. That's what that means. I master over 6 and 5. And the reason has to be is because.
Okay, we had a little bit of a snafu there with a connection, but we are back and going to try to pick up where we left off. Sevan.
Yeah, well, we just wanted to get both of those questions answered. And it's really like this 100% for those that are either maybe facing an impending situation and need to get some advice about, how you need to pay attention to what's going on in this world, especially not to limit your freedom, but also those that are inside right now that, you know, may have access to this recording one way or another, can get this information. And that's also what I was saying, I think, before. I'm not sure if we got cut off, but we're working heavily to get information because it's a simple system. The information becomes very free for prisoners. But you could just imagine a prisoner doing yoga and doing the proper breathing techniques to really break themselves out from within. And then it redundifies in the physical world. See, that's really also the key to this, especially with our dream world. It has the ability to bleed over into our physical world. And to bring yourself into the climax of yourself allows you to break the envelope of time and to actually put something outside of time for yourself in the future. And let me explain this simply. Some people are wondering, well, how do you manifest something? Like, I'm broke right now. Like, I got that situation going on. Tell me about what do I do for that? In fact, let's start with that, because generally when you start from the lowest levels of any conversation, it's going to be money issues with people most of the time.
Right.
Then we'll get later on into the crown chakra people who have these other very ethereal issues. So with the energy center of the body now, notice how money or currency is, the word is current. So this has everything to do with energy. And it is connected directly to how much we make, is connected directly to how much energy we have moving through our body, especially the root chakra area. The body, which was discovered when Phi was discovered, this is again the knowledge about the Phi relationship and the pentagram, etc. The body in the lower area of the body is known as basically the netherworld. And so what rules over the netherworld is our area where our genitalia is. So this is why most chakra centers start at the root chakra, because the root chakra is the lord of the lower region. So most studies and most teachings and studies don't get into it. They don't talk about it. So what happens with most of humanity is that some are stuck still in the netherworld of themselves, like in the duality. That's why there's two legs. They're stuck in those regions.
Here we go again.
Welcome back. Again, we had little problems. It seems that what Sevan is saying, it's so important that the computer seems like to cut off or something. Anyway, we were discussing about people in prison and how that's kind of like a incubation for some of them. And also, actually we were going into the whole main issue for many people, which is money and how that ties into the root chakra.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, we can even run all those in together. I mean, we had some of the conversation where we were getting the lines back together, but it's definitely, just to talk about it again, the geometry tells you everything. When you're in a cell or a cage, there's an incubation, and because you're inside of a cube, you're in a more limited space. And this brings you either to terms with yourself and understanding your real potential, or it breaks you. And this is why the term is a crucible, which is also the symbol of a cross. It's actually also connected to Christ. And in the crucible, if you make it out, you are 1,000 times stronger. So we want to definitely see people continuously hatching into more of their potential. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that reminds me of two different things. One is in alchemy, how the crucible, you want to burn off all the unnecessary, and also how a lot of monks and yogis will go into a cave, which seems no different than like if you're in the hole in prison.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually forced. Okay, here's another level of mind too. I will tell you that is walking the earth. They do call it a superhuman or Ubermensch. This is the individual that will retreat to cold areas just because the situation in the reality, they rather deal with the cold area than that situation. Now, imagine the strength of that mind, that rather than deal with the city and all the stuff that goes on there, they go to a place that's barren where no one's going to say, hey, get off my land. And they endure that cold and attempt to advance their spiritual mind state. They're also in a keen position to advance their spiritual mind state because of that seclusion. So This is also why we have to realize that we don't see every part of the world. Like no one's been everywhere. So there's some places where there's still groups of individuals that have kept their bloodline and have kept different things intact and used the real knowledge, not what is the curriculum of the United States school system, to teach their children so that way when they develop whole. Not missing, like, notice how, okay, so let's talk about this financial thing. It has everything to do with foundation, your root, which is the root chakra. So what happens is, if on the body, which is again a map of this immediate universe, if you're in your root chakra region, which is right there above your legs, if you don't know about the lower regions, or basically what happened down there, what happened in history, then you don't have any foundation. So what this leads to also is this: there's more information about the chakra. It affects a person between 1 to 7 years old. And between the ages of 1 to 7 years old, everything that is shaping and molding a child is introduced to them then. Fear. The parent leaves the child feels alone. The child feels also that the other individuals around, because they were told, are strangers. They should not communicate with them either. So this is all nightmare zone from 1 to 7. They see their first scary movie. Somebody lets them see the scary movie. Next thing you know, they can't go to bed. So what this does is it crumbles the foundation of the human aura. And so by the time the person reaches 10, 12 years old, they're now building a future for themselves on a foundation that they've had no choice but to just keep going. They have not settled what happened when they were younger. And so this is also the part where they say, man, this is too deep. Because look, the lower area of your body is the deep area of your body. This is why. Notice how all of the higher functions, everything above the waist, it's all fun up there. The organs get a chance to do their thing. They spill out the waste into the lower world, or into the lower half of your body. In the head, man, it's nothing but breath up there. You get to see everything. So notice how each faculty of our body has a benefit that the other ones, some of the lower ones, would wish they have. I'm sure the lower parts of our body would wish to be our eyes. This is how we have to understand how the universe works inside of ourselves, because this is actually what's going on. It's the whole body is all functioning, and this is how we know we're all connected. But surely the lung is not the liver and doesn't want to be the liver. And this is also why your organs are known to have to play in harmony in order to be able to unlock a lot of the levels of knowledge. So when we're talking about energy, especially the beginning of it, it starts in the root chakra. That's the amazing part. Most teachings now, many of them that basically don't allow an individual to graduate, teach an individual from the top down. This is also known as the symbol of the dove descending. This means that someone will open up your crown chakra, and it doesn't even matter if they don't even care if you have your root chakra and everything established yet. Very dangerous. Most individuals that do that end up crazy. In Israel right now, they have a symptom called the Jerusalem syndrome. And because, of course, there's Kabbalah, there's Judaism there, for them chanting certain words and not being able to withstand the energy, it just takes their mind. So this is what we're talking about when one has to understand the potency of self. And why also most people are locked out of this. This also gives a person another answer to the question of, well, why are we so hindered from our powers? Until we understand exactly what they are to be utilized for, it's a lot more dangerous for us to have them on than to not have them on, exactly. Especially for our futures. Because remember, everything that we do, we're still held accountable for that. Now, it's good that in this dimension, the worst thing that you can do here is kill someone. Okay? Now, killing on the higher level is an illusion because no one can really die. We're all immortal souls. So, yes, there's a painful moment. For some people, it's not painful at all. But that's just you lose that shell and you go forth as a spirit being. So, the reality is that that's also how you conquer the ultimate fear, which is death. This is what helped me. Is realizing that there's no end. This won't be the last time they hear from Tom. You see what I mean? Like, you have to understand to ground yourself into that. Like, man, if I have to stay here until I figure this out for another 200,000 aeons, I still will be awake. They have no clue of what they're dealing with and what has been created. Like, I don't even have a clue, so I know they don't. You have to basically be able to reinforce your body and your structure of your mind again to constantly keep yourself in a perpetual energy. Now, let me show you what perpetual energy is, really. It's when you actually can generate energy off of nothing. Remember, the whole idea of perpetual energy on this dimension is debunked because a device that runs on perpetual energy needs something first to push it, causing an inertia, thus ruling it out as perpetual. They're looking for something that actually can continuously run itself off of nothing. The human can. Have you ever noticed how when you get excited about something, like somebody told you something, man, you didn't even see it. Like I said, man, you want a car and you really believe me? Man, you're jumping to the roof. Now you're actually getting boosted on energy off of nothing. So this is to show you like what the higher states of mind have done is they've moved away from, especially blood, which is eating meat and all that kind of stuff. They moved away from that. And they're using higher levels of energy to exist that have not as much karma entailed with them. Because this is, of course, the real deal. It's like what put this together was very intelligent. We have to give it that credit. And we are also very intelligent beings. We were created in a sense to be perfect. But perfection is something that you do have to work on daily. It's like you're spinning like a top. You may be perfect yesterday and then totally come off balance tomorrow. It just happens. So it's almost like a child that gets up, starts to walk a little bit, and then falls down again. That's all. If it becomes too much where the person starts to feel like there's some impending disaster if they don't get it right, they can create impending disaster for themselves. And this is also why the world that we're living in, we have to be very careful to what we exactly accept for what is going to happen in the future, especially right now. Exactly. Because everyone knows about these energies that are coming through that are very strong, that are tapped in. Like basically every month, it seems like it's getting stronger and stronger, whatever it is. Like I keep saying, it seems to be tied into the moon. I have a whole write-up on, the ancient story of the moon and what exactly it really is and how it attracts and how it causes this fertilization here on the planet, and how just by logic, the ancestors, of course, looked to the moon anyway because they were all concerned about their crops and stuff growing. They weren't concerned about whether they were going to get the new job at TT Technical. It's like they were just trying to survive. And that also brings us to another point about pre-humanity. Like what happened before? Why is there such a disconnection between us and our ancestors? What happened to them? Because this is another mathematical statistic. If you see how many individuals it took to build Angkor Wat, the actual population of the individuals that lived there would be almost quadrupled in what it is now. And this is the same in many other parts of the world. That some of the monuments and things that have been built, even when using magnetic power and lifting blocks, like, all of what they talk about how it was built, but no, it was built with manpower. Like we have forgotten the story about what we overcame before, which was when what we see now as our controllers were actually had the power and ability to make us work daily for what they wanted. Obviously, we overcame that because that's not what we're doing now as a whole. Some people, unfortunately, are now being confined to that. But what I'm talking about is that when you see Angkor Wat, the gods known as the Naga made those people build that temple as an image of their kingdom in Orion in the heavens. Same thing with Egypt. Those people were conscribed to build. So you can see obviously with our world that there was a resetting. You see it in the Aztec knowledge. You see it in the Bible. You see it in different places about the deluge. However, the highlands weren't deluged, meaning that all the upland areas of our world, like the Himalayas, never go underwater. That's why their teachings there are always the oldest, because they're preserved for whenever the planet goes through that kind of phase. I will tell people, for those who are maybe getting scared about that now and something like that happen, this is why the United States has created all this technology, is because they're actually stabilizing the planet. And I'll explain this. They have an interest in allowing this to keep going. See, normally Earth hatches by now. Hatching means basically a blink of an eye, we're all transmuted. It's like the crack of the egg, and all of a sudden you realize what's on the outside of the egg. So you can see why the controllers are doing the chemtrails, which is coding our reality. Excuse me, not our just our reality, but coding the sky that has been burned out from the excuse me, what is the layer of the sky is
Ozone.
Ozone.
the ozone layer. Okay, what you're dealing with chemtrails, and which is why they cannot explain to people what chemtrails really are, is that the controller story is that of Nibiru. The sun in our atmosphere demands so much energy, it is burning our ozone. So we use gold and many other metallic chemicals to coat those areas, because it's like Swiss cheese. It's not just like one big hole opening up in one place. It's in certain areas, especially in California, there's a lot of that energy coming through. Now, it just so happens that this energy, which is also the highest level on the frequency spectrum, ultraviolet, it's like ultraviolet photon coming from the sun, even you being in contact with that opens you up to a stream of information. And this is what I discovered with the crown chakra.
So real quick, bounce back to the chemtrail thing. Are you thinking? I mean, I know that the Anunnaki, the whole Nibiru thing. They were talking. They talked about taking the gold for their atmosphere. What you're saying is that our society now is doing basically the same thing. Now there haven't been I haven't heard of any gold being detected. Were you thinking more along the lines of the monatomic or something being used in the chemtrails?
About the other chemicals that can be made from gold, because that's what gold allows. That's the whole secret behind gold, is it can be transmuted into other chemicals very easily. Some of those chemicals, of course, we're deep into the science now, are a lot more reflective than gold. And this is why, of course, in the Sumerian stories, they say they took the gold and they made it into dust, and they wanted to keep crushing it into the fine dust. What they mean is that they need to keep transmuting it to allow it to coat the environment properly. And then this is getting us into a story that it's important to know if you're living in this reality, because the individuals such as the ones in Britain, the king and the queen, the lord and the lady, and all the rest of that, this is what they're doing. On an essence, you can ask yourself one or two things. Is it important for you to know exactly what they're doing so that you not only can release yourself, but others? Like sometimes we'll be like, you know what, I don't even really need to get that deep for me to do my spiritual knowledge. And you may be right, because everyone has a different mission here. This message is going out to the individuals that have to equip themselves to actually transmute this reality. It's actually a position available. This is what, you know what, here's another thing about all the powers and abilities. Guess what? If you don't have the person to match it, they don't turn them on. It's a passive force there. It doesn't care if you're going to do good. It doesn't care if you know you're going to do evil. Only thing that it cares about is your will. Your will, basically your ability to know what you want and firm on it. It's the key component to allow it to manifest. So of course your will is tied into your foundation. It is literally tied into how planted you feel when you stand. So this is how there were other ways to approach spiritual knowledge. There was a brute force way, which was training the body, like different martial arts, the Tai Chi's, and that's training the physical vehicle to make the spiritual and mental vehicle respond. You can also do this from the spiritual level. You can enhance your knowledge and your understanding about exactly how the world works, and this leads into you also perfecting your body and your spheres. So all it requires is that you become, for better lack of words, the master of something. That
right.
Universal connection with all things. And I happen to just do that with language. I end up seeing what language really means. I started with English, then I went into Latin. Hebrew was always lingering back there. And then I learned that Arabic had another thing going on. Then I started looking into Tamil. Then I started looking into Tamil was the oldest. And then I started. The people who are writing history are just the ones who are winning the wars. Our grandfathers told us to. And it's really, really true. You see that much of the knowledge. We're talking about having complete control over your entire spectrum. What about this reality tells you that externally right now that that's what they really want for you? So in essence, they are only the counterweight to our growth. Meaning that when you go work out, you got to lift heavier weight in order for you to get big. There's an agreement going on between you and the weight. The weight agrees to be the weight, and you agree to get lifted until you get strong enough to put on more weight. So in the reality this heavy stuff that's happening to us right now, the bombings, the desensitization, the MK Ultra, you name it, what it's really, it's weight. And when we can lift it, this is when we actually, it's what causes us to be big enough to break this womb.
Right.
We'll go in everyone. See, there's already the knowledge about what is outside of this world. There were some men, several groups that, just like all of the conspiracy theorist minds of today, wondering what is going on, but they had the resources to find out. Like, people need to stop under, what do you call it? Basically, like, we have to stop everyone else like ourselves, meaning that you sometimes say, well, they don't know. No, you don't know. Don't think that there's everyone running around here that doesn't know what's going on. There are some people here that are very adept. But again, we learn how that our system also works on an attractive level. We become a magnet or attractor to what we want. So whatever signal that you're sending out, whatever you want to receive, whatever question you want the answer to, or whatever basically what you want, it finds your frequency. And so this is also how we can wire every day where we are, by making sure that our wants and our needs are still maximized, meaning that we don't limit it to just, I need some money. You got to work also with the sexual center of the body. This is the other thing. Everyone's issue with understanding how to cycle the Kundalini comes from the book. If you read it, The Multi-Orgasmic Man, Montauk Chai, it's about understanding how to cycle the fluids. So we won't really get too much into that diameter because, I'm not limits of the listeners, but understanding the energy in their system has a lot to do with the sexual energy at first. And then once that energy rises out of that center, they basically no longer have to face that situation, however that is manifesting in their lives. So as you can see, it's a really
the path is cleared. Yeah, as soon as I've known this in my own life and experienced this in my own life, that as soon as I've gone through the experience and learned the lesson, I never see it again. It just doesn't happen. It's cleared out of my path.
And if there is something that you need to learn, especially now because our auras are moving so fast, we keep seeing it everywhere.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So okay, well, we're winding down the first segment here, and man, this is a lot of stuff coming through here, guys.
I hope you got your notebook.
I've got a recording. I can listen to it as many times as I need to. Same with everybody else that's listening. Anyways, we might as well go ahead and take ourselves a little break here, and we'll come back into the second segment and let Sevan keep on spewing out what he's pulling in. So this is this is good stuff. Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
The love you deny is the pain you carry.
And
I just want to say thank you to all our members. And if you're not a member yet, just remember, when you do become a member, you help support shows like this and bring great guests like the one we have today.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll see you guys in the next segment.
Yes, This song is called Be the Change, inspired by the words of Mahatma Gandhi, who lived for peace and not violence, and told us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Freedom's calling, I feel the fire that's deep inside us. Everybody wants change, but tell me who will guide us. To the leaders that pass away, put up your lighters. It's a beautiful struggle, but it cannot divide us. We're the ones that we've always been waiting for. See yourself in the mirror and open up the door. Walk through it and feel the love throughout your pores. Be the light, life's purpose is to feel joy. Metaphysical, lyrical, standing up for truth. The only one to make change is walking in your shoes. Be the example, don't complain about the news. Making music and serving the world with the loo. Now you can be the same, or you can be the change. Find strength from inside, break through the chains. No one to blame, nothing to prove. You create your reality, it's up to you. Be the change
that you wanna see in the world. Like Gandhi, live for peace,
aspire to be.
Someone who fights for the beliefs, like Martin Luther King.
Aspire to be
that love,
that light,
like Christ,
life
for the moment indeed.
And if you believe
in Jehovah, Allah, Buddha,
Krishna,
it's love to me.
My soul yearns for peace in a world that's flooded with war. History's littered with body scar, trying to settle the score and maintain an archaic platform of power and greed. People fight for land out of survival and need. So I'm killing my television and I'm planting the seed to fill my head with knowledge that I'm seeing recede. Due to the media propaganda, killing my creed. Oh, what don't kill me make me stronger, feeling straight when I bleed. Fighting for interest and forwards attached to feet. They try to sell you anything in this world, nothing for free. Land, air, fire, and water, they keep up in the ante, while the anti-proletariat told the powers to be. But we keep fighting, surviving and thriving, recycling and rhyming. We constantly inclining, we see through the lying and prying. They tactically keep trying to keep you from asking the why.
Be the change that you wanna see in the world. Like Gandhi, live for peace,
aspire to be.
Someone who fights for the beliefs, like Martin Luther King.
Aspire to be
that love,
that light,
like Christ,
life
for the moment indeed.
And if you believe
in Jehovah,
Allah,
Buddha,
Krishna,
it's love to me.
We find solutions, different possibilities, creating organizations like Aspire to Be, inspiring young minds to see, building life skills, nurturing creativity, fulfilling the youth's basic needs, listening actively, teaching the tools to succeed, positive role models, we plant the seed, the roots drink the water which feed the trees, someone help me, giving back is my responsibility.
Be the change that you wanna see in the world. Like Gandhi, live for peace,
aspire to be.
Someone who fights for the beliefs, like Martin Luther King.
Aspire to be
that love,
that light,
like Christ,
life
for the moment indeed.
And if you believe
in Jehovah,
Allah,
Buddha,
Krishna,
it's love to me.
aspire to be.
Be the change you wanna see in the world.
Aspire to be.
Be the change you wanna see in the world.
Aspire to be. Aspire to be. Aspire to be.
Be the change you wanna see in the world.
Aspire to be.
Be the change you wanna see in the world.
Aspire to be.
Be the change you wanna see in the world.
Aspire to be. Aspire to be. Aspire to be.
Aspire to be.